Hi all, Aid here from Rev Monkey. Welcome to July's instalment of my monthly series of the best deals to be found at online auctions across the usual online websites that deal specifically in getting the best sports and supercars to you. Now, as usual, the prices that I suggest as the target price to acquire these vehicles includes what you'll pay on top of your bid in terms of the fee and VAT. Now, some of this can be as much as 6% or more, plus the VAT on top. I.e., if you bought a car for £50,000, that is another £3,000 on top of that in terms of commission and VAT. So bear that in mind with the target pricing I give you, and that price is what I believe is the right price to get you into that car where you won't lose any money in the short term, might make money in the long term, because I'm only looking at cars which I think have particular inherent value to those who appreciate these sorts of cars. So let's crack on as usual and delve into the first car. Right, first off, we have a 1975 Maserati Merak. Now, I believe Maserati is the right way to pronounce it. We all call it Maserati, which is definitely wrong. Not that it matters, just pointing it out. Now, this is the normal 3 litre version. There was an S version as well, or SS version, which had a little bit more power. Now, this particular one on auction here, 4 days to go. So by the time you see this video, it's probably only 2 or 3 days to go. But I'm putting it here because they do come up about once every 2 or 3 months. And it remains a classically beautiful Italian car. It's similar to the ilk of a pretty Di Tommaso Pantera sort of thing. And very much a car of that era. It was a car that rivaled the 308 GTB at that time. You know, a mid to late 70s supercar. A first supercar stepping stone, really. So not long to go. So this one might have gone, but it should hold you in good stead for if you look at these cars in the future and what kind of prices they're going to. Just looking at their pictures. I mean, I cannot believe that a car this good looking reaches prices only around about £45,000 to £50,000 in the open market. Not massively dependent mileage. A lot of these cars don't have particularly high mileage anyway. They're not the kind of cars that people use for long GT trips. But as you can see as I'm flicking through, what an awesome car. I remember this in my top trumps packs in the mid-70s. When at that point this was a car to behold, and obviously vastly outpriced other cars, the rudimentary cars on the street. There was this one as Maserati Bora, which looks similar, but the back end is covered in glass. Those flying buttresses aren't kind of holes, they're kind of covered in glass. And it was a much faster car, extremely rare. In fact, I've never seen one ever in the flesh at events or even an auction. So I'm assuming those are worth serious money. Well, these cars in general drive really, really well. I think people are a bit scared of them. Because the price is low, they're worried that they're going to be hideous. But if you get one that's had recent work and been kept up to date and hasn't been stuck away for 20 years or so, then actually I think you're looking at a really decent car. And keep some budget back, as always, to put money onto these cars. But that's the same for any car of this ilk. So looking down the details, what is incredible is that it seems that the mileage might be really low. It says indicated in 2,400 miles, and it's documented history of 2014 onwards. And it says that the mileage is believed to be genuine. I mean, without a closer inspection of this car, and I've actually seen this car in the flesh, but I didn't look at it that closely. I didn't realise it was coming up for auction, and it might appear in my video. But either way, you should always do some more due diligence before bidding and finding out and getting better pictures and understanding of the car itself. But if that mileage is true, obviously it changes things dramatically, because that is seriously low mileage. I mean, looking at my notes, one of these cars sold 5 months ago for £43,000 only. And generally speaking, as I said, they're £40,000 to £50,000. So with this low mileage and still with this kind of climate, I'm still thinking the right price is going to be below 50. It's probably going to be 40 to 45. If you bid and get this car below £40,000, then you've got got an absolute bargain on your hands. I say leave another £5,000 to £10,000 on the table to make this car really drivable from the instant you pick it up. And in the preceding few years, it's had quite a lot of work done, the kind of work which you would have ordinarily worried about. It's also been ceramic coated and the paintwork has been machine polished, so it's going to look quite good, but make sure you look at it in more detail. The other thing to consider today is left-hand drive. If you really must have a right-hand drive car, then wait a bit and one will turn up, but you might be paying 5 to 10 grand more if it's of an equivalent specification. But with this low mileage, if you get this 40, 45, even below 40, you're absolutely laughing. Right, next up, wow, I mean, it looks really, really pretty. This is an early to mid-70s Porsche 911 T Targa with the metal hoop going around it here, which you see on the new Targas that came out several years ago. Now, what I like about this car is that it's particularly kind of pretty for a Targa. I've never particularly liked Targas, but this one's a lot prettier than the mid to late 80s car that came out. I think it was the 964 version, which I think was one of the ugliest Porsche 911s ever made. This is completely different. Because it's daintier, smaller, it makes a huge difference to how it looks on the eye. Also, in that yellow colour, it's really resplendent, really stands out, and looks amazing in my opinion. Now again, indication of 9,500 odd miles. No further details in this one because it's a coming soon car. So keep an eye out for it. Do your diligence. Look at the history of the car. Look at all the pictures in details. Ask the right questions. You can do that on collectingcars.com. But as you well know, these older 911s are only going in one direction, and that's just creeping upwards. The special derivatives are going up in leaps and bounds and will continue to do so. And these cars are Targas. Once I'd consider a little bit of the runt of the family, are now doing well again. And I think because of their lower price relative to other models, that this is the right time to get into it. It's not too late. You can still get a Targa at good money and see some capital appreciation. Meanwhile, you've got an authentic classic 911, which always looks fabulous at the Porsche events, which I frequent. Isn't it? It really is a cute little car with the Fuchs wheels, 2.4 badge on the back grille. Hasn't got a spoiler, hasn't got a pop-box spoiler, hasn't got a World Toy spoiler. It's just got a nice classic 911 shape, all be with it, that hoop, which takes a bit of that curvature away. Lowest you see these cars is about 60 grand, and you see them 80 to 90. There's one currently for sale of 90,000 for better examples. Now, with this sort of mileage, if that's authentic, you've got to think this is at the top end of that game. So I think that really it's about 75 to 80,000 is your target price. If you get this below 70,000, in the 60s somewhere, I really think you cannot go wrong. So feel free to bid in the 60s. Think a little bit more about it in the 70s. If you just kind of want to keep for the long term, you're going to cherish it with love and affection, then of course it makes sense to pay the extra. If you're just trying to use it for a bit of time and then flip it, maybe you want to keep an eye on it, and if it goes above the 70s, maybe think twice. Right, next up. Oh my God, I love this car. I saw this, I've seen a couple. Maybe this car keeps coming up, I don't know. I keep seeing this in Rosso Metallica, which basically means metallic red. So it's not one of the kind of well-known red paints or Chipotle or metallic paints that you get now, like Fuoco, for example. But what a fantastic colour. Before we go into some of the details, take a look at this. It's got carbon interior, it's got the sports carbon seats, as you can see there. Well, what a fabulous colour, oh my God. It's got that amazing width, which carries on with the F12 and 812 to be fair. But look at that, with those shiny challenge wheels. Oh my God. That colour gives it integrity. It makes it look much more luxurious, which really sits well with a GT car. I think this is absolutely spot on with its tan interior. I think you can make it up. I think this is the best spec livery I've ever seen on a 599. Oh, it's just beautiful. So I'm going to get a picture of the interior for you. There's quite a lot of pictures on collecting cars before you get to some of the other details. My word. Look at that. I mean, that goes so well with red sports carbon seats, which aren't that common. Yellow rev counter, and the carbon, it just goes on and on. Wow. You really see sports carbon seats in a 599 because it's perceived as a GT car, which means you're thinking more about comfort and out pace. But believe me, this is a fast car and you've got to be on it and concentrating, otherwise you will come unstuck. But that power and that sense of keeping on top of it makes it all the more special. Modern cars, modern Ferraris have more costing, more technology, keeps you on the road. What's the fun in that? More details coming soon, but we're talking about I think it's something like 620 odd horsepower. Now looking at my details, let's have a look. One with, it says 13,000 miles. I mean, oh really, 13,000 miles, 2008 car. Oh God, it just gets better and better. I'll tell you right now, if I had the money, if I'd sold one or two of my cars, I would be bidding on this bad boy 100%. And I'd probably win it because I'd be committed to buy this car. And I'm happy to keep it, as you know, for 6 months to a couple of years. Gets good content on it, really enjoy it, put some mileage on it, take it to events. I will love and cherish it. Anyway, I digress. There's a 50,000 mile version that recently sold at 53,000. 53,000! A 28,000 mile example sold at 63k. And a 13,000 mile, similar to this, sold at, is that right? Sold at 90. Now, on that basis, you've got to think this is an 80 to 85k car, and that would be my target price. If I got this for 80 or below, if I got this in the 70s, I'd be disastrous. Oh my God, I'd be happy. If I got this in the 70s, I'd be over the bloody moon. These cars are going to start creeping up. They've reached the trough. Now, it hasn't got the HTGE pack, which is the handling pack, but that adds on like £20,000. Now, you can retrospectively add it, I believe. I mean, you could at the time, back in era, if you didn't get it from factory, but I believe there's still a way to do it now. I'm not 100% sure about that. Check it yourself, but wow. What a car. Oh my God. So, yeah. What I don't understand is why you get a 488, even a 458, perhaps even a 430, like mid-engine car. You can get a V12 front-engine car for half the bloody price. Look at it. These cars are supposed to be amazing to drive. I mean, okay, the V12 maintenance costs will put people off, but as I said, they're not going to go down in price. That lack of depreciation will mirror what you're spending in costs. So overall, over your ownership, you should be fine. Well, next up, super rare car. I think it's the only car so far that I've actually driven. Vauxhall VX220. Now this is the turbo version. There was the standard VX220, there was the turbo. The turbo is the one to get. They are rarer and they carry a premium of a few grand, about 20% over the standard. But these are cheap cars to get into. Wicked cars. A viable, much cheaper alternative to a Series 1 or Series 2 Lotus Elise, for example. Obviously, it hasn't got the kudos of a Lotus, and the Elise has proved very reliable, especially as by now they've been loved and cherished and worked on and fettled. So you could buy a Lotus without any problems. But this is a Vauxhall. Again, easy to work on. There is parts availability. I don't know. I think it looks more aggressive and menacing than the Lotus. On the flip side, the Lotus is prettier. It depends which way you want to go. But I remember driving this. I remember turning up in my Integrale. I had one back there. So this must have been about very, very early 2000s. And we took the roof off. Or I tried to take the roof off. Dropped it. Scratched the T-bar. Oh, awful. Awful, awful. I mean, the way I feel passionate about cars, to damage another car was awful. He actually said, don't worry about it. As a favour, I took him out into my Integrale after this test ride. And he really did poo himself, and I was doing things I really wasn't proud of, but I just wanted to show him how good the car was. My ego got in the way. But this car was great fun, super light. You close the door and you feel like the car's literally going to fall apart, like Wacky Razor style. All the panels are going to fall off, but actually it's fine. So it's a good looking car. A lot of fun. Let's talk about the values, because to me it was a bit shocking. Again, a coming soon car. I've only just under 13,000 miles. Obviously a manual gearbox and an absolute delight. Comes everything on the pictures that you're going to need. Now I've been looking around. The normal cars, the non-turbos, are 15 to 20,000, but most of them got a lot higher mileage than this. Now being a turbo, and I've seen them for sale at between 20 and 23,000. I think 18 to 22 is a good target for this low mileage VX220 turbo. If you get it below 18, you've done really well. It's a fabulous car. You'll enjoy it on the road because it's so light, but you'll also enjoy it in the track. Yes, cars will overtake you, faster modern cars, even hatchbacks, but my God, you're going to have a lot of fun and learn how to drive properly. Oh, excellent. So what a great car for small money. Right, next up, now you do know I do love a Targa 4S, a 997 derivative, where the Gen 1s are 25 to 30 and the Gen 2s are generally 35 to 40. And I think it's one of the prettiest 911s ever made, and I want to get one. Now this is a bit rarer. This is a 993. It's not a Targa 4S, just a Targa. It's not even an S. But it's a 993, which means it's pretty by definition. Last of the air-cooled Porsche 911s. The most daintiest front on a 911 with those slightly angled small lights. Really pretty back, really svelte in this example. Such an attractive car. And look at it, it's so delicate. And I think it's so much prettier than the 911s of the last decade or so, which have got bigger and bigger, heavier, health and safety crap all over them. Spoilers hanging off there, ducts, side things, scoops, knackers. I mean, not for me in an ideal world. This is a lot purer. It hasn't even got a spoiler that pops up. It's got a little thing there. Lovely. Look at that. Look at that. What a gorgeously pretty 911. Why on earth would you buy a newer one for 150 to 200 just so you can go fast and look good at a Porsche event? Really? Look at that. Panoramic glass roof folds back. It's pretty, it's classic, it's going to cost not a lot to run, and it's not going down in price ever, which GT car people are now suffering. What a beauty. Sorry, I'm really passionate about these. The old 911s, the 993s and 997s, I think is a real sweet spot for first time Porsche owners. People get into the 911 brand particularly. I mean, you only buy newer because you got the money. If you've got the sense, you don't. Seriously, that's the way I feel. These are the cars to get. They are proper cars, manual gearboxes, pretty, light, engaging, bang. Right, another coming soon to car. The only downside in this one, being in 96, is 113,000 miles. Now, it's a German car. Don't be scared of high mileage. It's a Porsche. Don't be too scared of high mileage. When the details come up, if it's had recent servicing and recent work, that's sorted out all the usual problems that you might expect on a 911 60, 80, 100,000 miles later, then that's fine. Do your diligence, check on the forums, ask the right questions, but don't be scared of the mileage per se. Now, interestingly, an 82,000 mile car sold at 60,000. Now, I thought that was low. I thought these were much more than that. I thought these were 80 grand cars. So that surprised me anyway. So on a basis that sold for 60, and with the state of the current market, with that mileage, I think the target price is 50 to 55. But I'd be tempted to go higher than that if this car ticked every other box when you get all the details. Other than that, if it just seems normal, you might have spent a bit of money in it. 50, 55 at the moment seems right. But I think this is a kind of car that's going to go to 80 or 100 grand at some point. It's too pretty not to. Right, next up, I cannot believe the prices that we're getting for these amazing cars these days. 430 manuals, 360 manuals, Spider manual, even rarer, even better, even more desirable. This is a 2001 Ferrari 360 Spider with a manual gearbox. This one's at Iconic Auctioneers. All the links are down below as usual. Now look at this. Look at this car. 20,500 miles, warranted miles in Argento Nürburgring. That's silver to me and you. With tan interior, which actually seems to work really well. I think black would work well, dark blue would actually work well, and perhaps even a red colour. But the tan does work well. It looks flawless from here. It's got nice wheels. These are good looking, pretty cars. Now, a lot of carbon, this one, but does it matter? Daytona seats, manual gearbox, fantastic. Oh, recognise that. Similar in looking to the engine head of my 430. Looky. To be fair, that's a damn nice car, isn't it? So with Iconic, you've got more details on it, as you see there. Interestingly, the cars in storage 2016 to 22. Now, usually that sort of thing scares me, especially when it's longer than that. But it's been looked at, recommissioned, it's been serviced in 2023. Not many miles ago, it was overhauled, the soft top included, which is great at 3,000. And going back another year, 8,000 was spent on it, doing all the usual stuff, including the sticky buttons. That means, in my mind, this car is ready to drive away. Now, Iconic have got a guide price 52 to 57. Now, bearing in mind, this is a 20,000 mile, so a low mileage manual Spider. I reckon they've got that too low. Now, I might be proved wrong because of the state of the market, but that's great. I mean, I'm thinking this. What have I put down here? I'm thinking this is 60 to 63,000. I think if you've got this at 57 or 52 here, you'd be laughing out the door. I suspect you're going to see 50,000 bids on this come quite quickly. And as I said, I think if it goes into the low 60s, I think that is still a decent buy. So keep an eye on that. I mean, only 3 days to go, but you're going to see that jump up significantly. Grab yourself a bargain. Cracking car, very pretty, really engaging, a real Ferrari. Right, last up, another Ferrari. Being a bit Ferrari orientated, which isn't usual. I was looking at another Audi Quattro, UDR Quattro, but I thought, nah, I'm looking at unusual cars again, but I thought, now let's look at a few different cars. Now, Vetroresina. Right, now this is a 76 Ferrari 308 GTB Vetroresina. Now, they only made the Vetroresinas in GTB form, which means I haven't got the Targa. Vetroresina simply means fiberglass in Italian. So this is the fiberglass bodied car, much more sought after than the steel bodied cars for 2 reasons. Firstly, this won't rust, although they sometimes get some glazing issues. And the second reason being it's 150 kilograms lighter. Basically, that's almost 2 adults. That's a huge difference. Hence why they're much more sought after. They're almost like competition version of the normal 308 GTB. Extremely pretty car. They're guided at 100 to 110,000. I can't really argue on that. They only made 808 of these cars in total. 154 of them in right-hand drive. It's a rare car. I mean, normal GTBs, 308s, go for about 60, 70, maybe 80,000 pounds. So I don't think they're far off of that price. I think if you get this below 100, you cannot go wrong. If you really want this car, then feel free to go above that £100,000 mark. But do your due diligence, check it over really carefully and see what you think. Check out all that service. Does it add up? I mean, here, what's it got in here? 2023, annual service, new battery, checked an oil leak, changing of the usual oil and filters, gearbox oil, 15,000 was spent in the last 4 years. Oof. I mean, that should mean a lot of the hard take has already been done and you're going to get a fantastic car, hence that price, and hence why this is going to be a decent buy at that price. And hopefully, it's quite easy to maintain these cars, that after that, your service costs might only be £1,500 or so. What a spectacular car. I've always believed this is one of the prettiest Ferraris you can get into. It always staggers me how cheap they are, but of course they made quite a lot of them. They were very successful. I don't think it's got matching luggage. Oh, that's even better. Believe me, that's worth a couple of grand. Oh, it's just so classic. It's so pretty. Isn't it beautiful? What absolutely stunning cars these are. Oh, let's go back there. That's a fabulous picture, isn't it? I mean, 100 grand to get you a car. Ferrari's prettier than that. Worked on as much as that. Oh, yes, please. Right, on that note, I'll leave you. That's it for this month. They're really special cars. Next month, I'll try and chuck in some cheaper cars, like I usually do. The 15, 20, 25, 30,000 pound mark, which obviously opens up to more of you to get involved in this. But hopefully at least enjoyed me ranting on about these wonderful cars, and you've learned something about the pricing. The market remains about where it has been for the last few months, in that they're not crashing off, but you're still getting some amazing bargains, picking up the better versions of cars at those prices, whereas before you have to pay significantly more. They've kind of come down a bit, where they're now affordable, where the normal cars were once priced. So that's why I look at it. This is a positive opportunity still to get the right car at the right price. As always, do due diligence, understand what you're really paying when you're paying a buyer's fee and VAT on top of that, and any work you might have to do. If you've got any questions, drop a comment. Please like, please subscribe if not already. This happens every month, and there's usually a wide variety of cars. Until then, ride safe, drive safe, take care out there, enjoy the rest of the summer. Aid out.